Hello everyone, this is Dr. Jawad. I want to go over the parts of the cell and the organelles. Now when you talk about the cell, there's three main parts that you have to know. One, it has a selective barrier. It's a phospholipid bilayer, and that is the plasma membrane. It's selective. It lets some things in, some things out. Next is the cytoplasm. The cytoplasm and cytosol, that's the liquid portion of the cell. And then you have the nucleus, which is kind of like the brain of the cell, center stage. That contains the DNA, it contains the genetic material within the chromosome. Now when it comes to the individual parts of the cell and the organelles, those are the functional units of the cell in itself. There are some organelles that I did leave out, okay, so I just want to go over the major ones. So when you look at the cell, you're thinking about the nucleus. The nucleus is the brain of the cell, so it's center stage. So if you're a singer and you're dishing out gifts, you're going to do it from the center stage, and where's it going to go? It's going to go outward. So when you're on the center stage, the very center, the pit, is the nucleolus. So you have this nucleus, okay, which is the brain. So let's open up the brain, and inside the brain is the nucleolus. The nucleus, you have the genetic material, the chromatin, and the nucleolus. So what does this all mean? So you have the function. So now let's talk about the functions. So you got the nucleus. The nucleus contains the DNA. You open up the nucleolus of the nucleus. This is where it makes ribosomes. Ribosomes are proteins. And also within the nucleus is chromatin. Chromatin is composed of one DNA molecule. So you take one chromatin, put it together, and that's called a chromosome. You pull the chromosome apart, that's chromatin. So when you come to the nucleus, important thing to understand is that it's porous. The nucleus has pores to it, and around it it has a nuclear envelope. Again, that's the brain of the cell. So when you have the ribosomes, okay, when you have the ribosomes, which is proteins, it goes through the nuclear pores. The nuclear envelope which surrounds the nucleus is porous. So it comes out of the pores and it latches onto an endoplasmic reticulum called the rough endoplasmic reticulum. There's two endoplasmic reticulums. One is rough. It has a studded appearance. So the rough endoplasmic reticulum has a studded appearance. And there's also a smooth endoplasmic reticulum, which is not studded. So how you tell the difference between the rough endoplasmic reticulum and the smooth endoplasmic reticulum? Very simple. It has studs. What are those studs? Those studs are ribosomes. And there's a lot of ribosomes. Some they float within the cytosol. Others attach onto the rough ER. So what are ribosomes? The function of ribosomes is the site of protein synthesis. So it catches a ride on the rough ER. So the rough ER, the function of the rough ER is to transport the ribosomes. Next is the Golgi Apparatus. So we have a Golgi Apparatus, and it kind of looks like a bunch of squiggly lines. The function of the Golgi Apparatus, or Golgi complex, depends on where you're looking at, is it stores, packages, and transports the what? The proteins, the ribosomes. I always say that think about the Golgi apparatus or the Golgi complex as the UPS or FedEx. What are you doing? You're dropping off. What are they doing? They're packaging, they're storing, and they're transporting what? Your package. What's the package? That's the ribosome. What are ribosomes? Those are proteins. So that's a function of the Golgi apparatus. There's two endoplasmic reticulums. So the function of the rough endoplasmic reticulum is to what? Is to transport the ribosomes. The other endoplasmic reticulum is the smooth endoplasmic reticulum. The function of the smooth endoplasmic reticulum is to make fatty acids and steroids. So you have fatty acids and steroid synthesis in the smooth ER. Next is, very, very important, is it has kind of like, it looks like a P shape, or like an almond shape, and that's mitochondria. The mitochondria to the cell, this is very, very powerful. The mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. The function of the mitochondria, it has like a squiggly appearance on the inside, little rows. This makes ATP. So the functional part of the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell, but what does that mean? The powerhouse of the cell makes ATP. So the function of mitochondria is to make ATP synthesis, and ATP is our energy currency. So with the different parts of the cell, you have, with every cell mechanism, it has a byproduct. Kind of like when you turn your car on, what happens? You have carbon monoxide as the byproduct. When cells work, what's the byproduct? It's free radicals. So when the cells are functioning, it has a byproduct, and something has to clean it up. That's the lysosomes. The lysosomes is kind of like the janitor of the cell. So what the lysosomes do, the function is to digest and recycle the worn out organelles. So the lysosomes is like the janitor of the cell. Next we have, it looks like a bunch of cylinders and in an X formation, paired 90-degree angles to each other, and that's called the centrosome. So you have a bunch of cylinders paired up, that's called the centrosome, and it's geared at a 90-degree angle. Pull one of the centrosomes apart, and it's a centriole. It's one cylinder. So one cylinder is a centriole. A bunch of them paired is a centrosome. Now the function of those they form the mitotic spindle when we have mitosis. Understanding the parts of the cell, when you think about how everything is produced, how everything is made, think about like a band. You're on center stage. You're the nucleus. You have a brain. That's the nucleolus. You want to give out something. Those are the ribosomes. Those are your proteins. It comes out of the nuclear envelope through the nuclear pores. Now it's getting out into the crowd. The package is the protein, so it has to be transported through the rough ER. The difference between the rough ER and the smooth ER is the rough ER has that studded appearance. The smooth ER, what does that make? It makes fatty acids and steroids. So you have this protein that you want to get out throughout the crowd. You have the Golgi Apparatus or Golgi complex, which what? Stores, packages, and transports the proteins for later usage. That's the UPS of the cell. Now with the cell you need energy. Mitochondria. What's the function of mitochondria? To produce ATP. What's ATP? That's energy currency. That's the energy. Now we have all this cellular function and it creates byproducts. So something has to clean it up. What's going to clean it up? The janitor, correct? That's a lysosome. The function of the lysosome is to digest and recycle the worn out organelles. Now we have something to make all the mitosis, the spindles, and that's the centrosomes. The centrosomes are paired, pull one out, centriole, one. Okay? So the three parts of the cell, remember, are the plasma membrane, cytoplasm, and nucleus. And if you have any comments, please leave them down below. Thanks for watching.